It's getting darker earlier in this corner of the globe, and it's only going to get worse because of daylight savings time. What are we saving? Sleep? No, that's just one day. Then you get back on a routine. But the darkness does remind me of a psychedelic black metal band, one that just released a brand new album this year. In fact, just this past Friday, and it's HAIL SPIRIT NOIR with their brand new album, Mayhem in Blue. Now, a couple years ago, we reviewed their last album on a whim, entitled Oi Magoy, and it was an amazing experience. It was one that certainly got a lot of members of the nation on board with HAIL SPIRIT NOIR, becoming fans, or at least scoping them out. And this has become a bit of a really excitement-driven release. Maybe not to the likes of Testament or Avenged Sevenfold or Ananakrat or even Serpentine Dominion, which we talked about already, but definitely within a small crowd that appreciates this style of music and this style of heavy metal. So psychedelic black metal, what really is that? It's basically what would happen if Pink Floyd's Syd Barrett, Roger Waters, and maybe even a little bit of David Gilmour, we'll get to why that is in a little while, just decided to make a black metal record, but decided to also keep that psychedelic sound that they had during the latter portion of the 1960s and first part of the 1970s. It's definitely a wild exchange. I Mean You Harm is the opener of this 6-track affair. It's at 3 minutes and 55 seconds, the shortest track on the album, and I think the second or third shortest song in HSN history, which is kind of incredible considering the energy this brings. This has all of the energy of almost of a traditional black metal track. However, there are a couple of weird twists and turns that give it its character, and really the psychedelia comes in, especially with the title track Mayhem in Blue, which follows it up. That's whenever you start to hear some of those weird synths, either that or the dancing waveriness of the guitars that give it a little bit of a different tint or a different register. And these are songs that don't really necessarily just deviate into complete and total psychedelic randomness. Instead, they do boast a little bit of a structure, and then that structure gets warped, almost as though you're actually taking the drug, walking down the path in a straight line, and then all of a sudden, that path becomes very wobbly, very wavery, and as a result, you start to weave and bend. And that's exactly what this music certainly feels like, especially whenever you go into Riders to Utopia. Now, within these tracks, you're getting mainly a very, kind of loud and sort of harrowing scream. You're getting something that is very familiar with, lovers of the black metal genre. These Greeks definitely know how to really incorporate that into their strange sound, but you also get a couple of clean vocals here and there, and those play a very large part whenever we get to the finale of this album, so definitely stay tuned. But they're solid enough, and they have this deeper register to it that it almost provides a bit of a haunt to really accompany the psychedelic trip. And it's definitely seen within a track such as Lost in Satan's Charms, which is nearly 11 minutes in length, and really for the first half of it feels very structured, it feels very safe, it doesn't look like it's going to really go into too much of an intrepid territory. It's instead going to kind of be more traditional, but then the last 5 minutes completely sever the notion of that completely, almost as though they took the drugs and the acid finally hit. The last 5 minutes are an absolute thrill ride. This is something that sees a little bit of a repetition of some ideas with gradual building and gradual instruments sort of be going over top of it, and really from minute 9 all the way till near minute 11, because we don't quite make it to 11 at 10:52, it is the same pattern with a little bit of building within it, and it definitely has sort of a carnival-esque feel to it, and really at times it almost feels like some of these weird, synth/guitar dualities belong in a game such as Space Funeral, either that or Lisa the Painful RPG. If you know either of those two, definitely leave some love in the comments below. But then you get into the final 2 tracks on this album. The Cannibal Tribe That Came From the Sea is just weird, and it's really good, and really they talk about this within the lyricism. It feels like just a weird story that they've made up, almost Lovecraftian in style, whenever it comes to the overall sense of it, and the music certainly matches that quality. But then you get to How to Fly in Blackness, and this is the standout track on the album. This is the one that, for me, made this album what it is, and I will describe that to you after we talk about this track. How to Fly in Blackness starts off very soft. It has a haunting element to it with the way in which the guitar is slowly being strummed, a little bit of the atmosphere that's being built behind it. It's giving it a melancholy, but it's also giving it a sense of dread. And then you hear the vocals, which are clean on this track for the first half of it, which really feels like it has a David Bowie-ish register to it, almost as though they are trying to, channel their inner Space Oddity or their inner Starman in order to deliver a very haunting, dirge-like track that has a, sort of disembodied head of hope that is, within the first 3 minutes of this song. But then, after that, we return to the same ideas of the chorus, only this time in that black metal rasp, until we finally fade out. But we fade out with a lot of time remaining. We fade out roughly with about a minute or so left on this song. And then we hear the reintroduction of that soft acoustic guitar. And we hear it slowly but surely gather enough steam that we hear the chorus one more time in that disembodied voice, that David Bowie-esque disembodied voice, and it just then fades to nothingness. It fades to emptiness. The last 5 minutes, the last 5 seconds are silent. This is a track that really showcases HAIL Spirit Noir and their ability to do two different things very well. This song shows that they have the ability to write a song of this variety, a psychedelic haunt that has all of the tools to really be a strong finisher. They took a risk with it, and then they also have the ability to really move you within that music and within that composition, regardless to whether they're going for their death growls, or should I say their black metal shrieks, or their clean voice. It shows that it's another tool that they have in their already dynamic kit. And Lost in Satan's Charms does the exact same thing. Really, that is the song out of nearly 11 minutes that shows everything that HAIL Spirit Noir has to offer in a very condensed version. Whereas the other songs on this album explore individual options or individual concepts a little bit more, while also parlaying in a little bit of sidestep, a little bit of left or right shift in order to give it some extra oomph. What this album is a fitting follow-up to Oi McCoy. It gives it a lot of leg to stand on, and it shows that HAIL Spirit Noir is not, they're not bending to fear, they're not bending to any sort of expectation. Instead, they are driving forward toward becoming another band that just showcases the metal idea that I talked about many, many years ago. This idea where Pink Floyd could easily be influenced by elements of heavy metal and have an instantaneous appeal, an instantaneous real register of amazingness to it. We've seen it with bands such as Neurosis, with Nachmistium so many years ago with the black metal duality, and now here we see it once again with HAIL Spirit Noir, who's adapting this to black metal and giving it a real avant-garde twist with a little bit of progression thrown in there from time to time, almost if just for good measure, and then giving that classic rock nod within How to Fly in Blackness only adds another element. Building these blocks, building this resume of different tools that they can use in order to really make and progress a song or really make and craft an album is what gives HAIL Spirit Noir a real advantage and a leg up among a lot of other artists, because they have the ability and the power to be unpredictable. 91 out of 100. So far, this has been the favorite of mine for the week. This is, wow. It's a terrific listen. It's 6 tracks long. It's only 40 or so minutes. It's not that difficult or long to digest. It can be a little harrowing for newcomers, considering it is a bit weird. If you're not used to avant-garde, if you're not used to, psychedelic black metal, it will sound a little off. This is not something that a traditional black metal face paint wearing fan is going to listen to and instantaneously dig unless they have an open mind. So definitely keep that within your subconscious whenever you give this a shot, which I recommend that you do. I want to know what you think about it after you do. Let me know in the comments below. My name is coverkillernation, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Hey guys, thanks a lot for viewing this video. If you want to know what my thoughts were for the last HAIL Spirit Noir album, check out the link to your left. The link to your right will take you to other reviews of 2016 albums, and you can also subscribe to the channel and check out my Patreon. Thanks again, and have a great night. Take care.